Okay, this is why I was in eviction court, and this is why I was denied my right to be heard. Okay, the lawyer told me when I talked to him on the phone that there was no way the judge is going to let me pursue my issues, and which was their lack of repairs, mandatory repairs in the building because of water leaks, bad plumbing, electrical problems, the doors. There's a lot of problems here that they refuse to acknowledge and repair. The last landlord said it was a money pit, that's why she sold it, and this guy's saying he wasn't here, so it's not his problem. And I explained to him, no, you bought the building, so you bought the problems, and it's the landlord's obligations to make all these repairs. And it's been an argument since, and I spoke to his lawyer. I said, have you been down here? Have you seen, what's going on here? He says, I don't have to. I said, yeah, but you're supposed to know if he's telling the truth. Yeah, and he laughed at me, and every time I mentioned anything, he just laughed, and he said he knows the judge, and he will have a talk. He was supposed to get my, according to him, that the judge wasn't going to grant my waiver fees. Maybe she'll grant my waiver fee on the appearance or the trial, but she won't grant my waiver fee on the jury trial, and he'll see to that. So we'll see, because I went to court. The judge denied me my right to be heard because I wanted to bring up lawyers' duties to investigate his client's claims, in which he didn't. He refused to, and basically he's just making a Karen call. His only claim is that I refused to pay the rent increase. He's not stating why, and I wanted to state why, and the judge didn't want to hear it. A lawyer has an ethical and professional duty to investigate a client's claim, as they cannot merely rely on a client's word and must ensure claims are not frivolous or fraudulent. This duty includes conducting a reasonable due diligence, such as reviewing documents and verifying facts to ensure candor towards the tribunal. And that's in the rules of professional conduct. When I wanted to use my right to be heard, to give candor towards the tribunal as to what was being done here, satisfactory competency requirements, and avoid assisting in criminal or fraudulent activity. The lawyer assisting the landlord in this fraudulent activity is a deprivation of rights. Two or more people conspiring to deprive rights is a conspiracy against rights under the color of law. And the judge decided to join in and aid and assist in this deprivation of rights. A contextual obligation is the extent of the investigation depends on the circumstances, including complexity of the case, potential risk, and inconsistencies or red flags in the client's history. Preventing fraud, lawyers must require further, in fact, known to them to suggest a high probability the client is using their services, crime, or fraud. Documents review. Reasonable diligence require checking key documents such as contracts, emails, or public records relevant to the claim. And I suggested going over his client's text with me, and he said he didn't need to do nothing. All he had to do was just file it, and the judge is going to come down on me. Yeah, so he's basically making a Karen call in court. Limitations. While they must act with competence and diligence, Rule 1.1 and 1.3, attorneys are not necessarily liable for failing to discover facts that the client deliberately conceals. Now, the client deliberately concealed it from him, but I invited the lawyer to come down here, and he said he didn't have to do that. Well, if you wanted to prove your client's case was legit, you had every obligation to come down here. I challenge you to that fact, and he just shot me down. Failure to properly investigate can result in disciplinary action for violating ethical rules, such as those governing candor toward the court. So he's lying in court. Well, he's not lying. He's only giving a portion of the truth. He's limiting it. Okay, so candor towards the tribunal. That's all I was doing, being candid with the court, with the judge. Okay, So that's all I was doing. I had meritorious claims and contentions. And that's what I tried to bring up. I was using the rules of professional conduct when I was demanding my right to be heard. All the violations. He did not have meritorious claims and contentions. There was a lack of ethical duty to investigate your client. Okay, people? So, look at here. The right to be heard. People, you got to understand the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct, everything within are your constitutional rights. The judge and the lawyers took an oath to the Constitution, serve, protect. Okay, so that oath is to the Constitution. The Sixth Amendment of the Constitution guarantees you effective assistance of counsel. Those ground rules are set forth in the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct. If those aren't being adhered to, you're lacking a fair trial because they are conspiring to deprive you of those rights and thus eliminates due process. Okay, and a quick way out is claiming your right to a quick and speedy trial, which that doesn't happen, and that can get your case tossed with prejudice, meaning they can't bring it up again. The right to be heard is a fundamental principle of procedural due process, ensuring individuals can contest actions affecting their life, liberty, and property before a neutral decision maker. It guarantees a meaningful opportunity to present evidence, respond to claims, and have representations considered before having a binding decision is reached. Key aspects: the right to be heard, meaningful opportunity. The opportunity must be provided at a meaningful time and in a meaningful manner, often before a final deprivation occurs. So I tried to do this at the very beginning, which was essential. That's called being diligent, expediting litigation. Those are rules and the rules of professional conduct. Context depends on the right is flexible, applying to criminal, civil, and administrative law. Core components of this typically includes notice of procedure, the chance to present evidence. The judge said she didn't have evidence. When I tried to present it, she said she didn't want it. She didn't need it. And I was clearly holding a copy of the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct in my hands. I was reciting them, citing them word for word to the letter. And remember, the letter of the law requires everything written be done word for word to the letter. Penalties, fines, removal from public service, and incarceration. If death is involved, one can receive the death penalty. Applications in legal proceedings. Criminal defendants have the right to appear, have counsel, confront witnesses, and make statements regarding sentencing, i.e. U.S. Department of Justice. Crime Victims Right Act entitled victim be reasonably heard at public proceedings regarding release, plea, or sentencing. Civil administrative protects against arbitrary government action by ensuring individuals can voice their objections to potential property or liberty deprivations. Legal foundation, constitutional basis. In the U.S., the right is anchored in the 5th and 14th Amendment due process, which apply to federal and state governments. Common law principle known as the alterum partem, here the other side. This principle ensures a person is judged without a fair. This principle ensures no person is judged without a fair hearing. Limitations: while fundamental right does not always guarantee a full trial type hearing in every situation, particularly in some administrative contexts, as a meaningful standard adapts to necessity of the case. Okay, so I wanted just to inform the court of what my complaints were about. Okay. The landlord said I was expecting special treatment because I'm handicapped and live in a wheelchair. Landlords are generally responsible for maintaining a self-sanitary and functional rental unit covering structural, plumbing, electrical, and heating repairs. And that's what I wanted fixed. Maintaining, I wanted them to maintain a safe, sanitary, black mold, not good. Functional rental covering structural with all the water leaks. There's been some structural damage. It rusted the bolts off the toilet bowl and made the toilet bowls. They finally replaced the toilet bowl, but still, the wood underneath it's rotted, it's warped, it's sunk in. They did nothing about that. Plumbing, it backs up. The drainage, there's a lot of problems. It's the whole building. As far as the water, it comes out orange sometimes black stuff. It comes out a little black stuff comes out. Electrical and heating repairs. They keep playing with the heating, and it's the doors. The doors in this place are as old as the building, which are the building's older than me, or as old as I am, and they're warped and they're bent out of shape, and the air comes in from the top, the bottom. I put all kinds of weather stripping. It comes off. It doesn't really hold. They tell me, oh, put something in front of the door, put a towel at the bottom. All this ridiculous stuff. So all I wanted was what was legally mandated. Tenants must report issue in writing via text or email to your creator record. I have tried to give them videotapes. They were here. I talked to them in person. I videotaped them being here. I got emails. I got texts. Okay, key responsibilities. Landlord's duty. They must handle repairs that affect habitability, such as broken heaters, especially in the winter, leaking roofs. It's not the roof. I'm on the first floor, and there's 2 floors. Structural issues and pest infestations. I haven't had any pest infestations, but we are developing a rat problem because the landlord decided to save money and put a smaller waste can out there for this huge unit. So sometimes it overflows. People put garbage on the side because it doesn't fit. And now there's rat traps all around the building. Okay, tenants' duties. Tenants are responsible for keeping the unit clean and for damages caused by their own negligence or intentional actions. I have never did any damage to this place. I live alone. I'm a recluse. Some call an introvert. I don't have parties. I rarely have company. I don't like sleepovers. Okay, request possible. Always put request in writing. Provide specific details and put photos if necessary. I sent photos, I sent videotapes. They don't want it. They keep telling me they don't want it, they don't need it. Just sign the lease and pay the rent increase. Send formal notice, ensure that there's a written paper trail. Contact local authorities if landlord refuses to act. Contact local housing code enforcement. Suggests a video. I went to the local town hall here, and they said their guy is only part-time, and they gave me his number. I left him my number, asked for a call back, my email. The last landlord told me nothing's going to happen because, they donate more money to these campaign people, politicians, than we do. Legal options, depending on local laws, options may include repair and deduct, hiring someone and subtracting it from rent, or breaking the lease. Well, I refuse to sign a lease or pay any increase until they do what's necessary, which is ridiculous. They say there are no laws to lock these people up, but conspiring to deprive rights, I have the rights for a safe, sanitary, and functional unit. And his lawyer is assisting him to deprive me of that. And him being friendly with the judge, she's assisting in depriving me of that. All because they didn't want to hear about this. All these problems in the building. And every time I complain, they raise the rent. Well, that black mold, that's extra. You know how many times the ceiling leaked and we didn't charge you for every time. So there's every time. So I can't report the water leaking from the ceilings, otherwise I get charged extra. Complaining about the door. If they replace it, I'm going to get charged extra. But that should have been replaced years ago. Things that should have been done a long time ago. And the last landlord explained to me they only keep the building for a couple years, sell it, and then move on to the next building. And each time they do, they increase the rent. And who's going to do anything? Nobody. They're not going to jail. They'll get a fine. The LLC will help keep them from being sued into oblivion. Pretty soon, you people won't be able to afford to live anywhere. It's just because things are like this all over, which is true. Nobody's stopping or making these landlords make all these repairs that they're supposed to legally make. They say there's no law against them. But that's deprivation of rights. That's against federal law. There's a lawyer to assist them in these deprivation of rights in a court of law. And the only way he'll get rid of it or get away with it or could get away with it is because of my ignorance of the law, or at least he thought that, my ignorance. So when I stated these laws, nobody in court wants to hear them. The judge decided she don't need to go by no code of judicial conduct, didn't care about the rules of professional conduct, didn't care about reporting misconduct, didn't care about candor towards the tribunal, communication, expediting litigation, diligence in that fact. All the mandatories in a court of law were thrown out, and she decided to go by her thoughts and feelings because she's friendly with the lawyer, who's getting paid quite a bit by the landlord, more than I can afford. I can't afford a lawyer, so now the court is counting on me to talk to some lawyer that I have to talk to in a week or so. And then he will go and represent me. And will he bring up all these issues? Will he bring up all these issues, he or she? Because this is what I will communicate to them. Deprivation of rights, a conspiracy to deprive rights under the color of law. And as you see my other videos, it's illegal for a lawyer and a judge to conspire to deprive a fair trial by ignoring the rules of professional conduct and the code of judicial conduct. People, those are laws in a court of law. Those are not only the laws that they have to abide by, but those are your constitutional rights. Your constitutional rights. They took the oath to make sure that all that happens. Everything in the rules and the codes are your constitutional rights. They took the oath to do that. Read the basic, or the oath of public service, and then read the basic obligations of public service. You'll find out that they're included in there, and they're not doing none of it. None of your public servants care about the oath. They all think they're above the law. But in a lot of, especially when it comes to deprivation of rights, one cannot knowingly and willingly deprive you of rights and expect qualified immunity. Qualified immunity cannot exist when one or multiple people knowingly and willingly deprive you of your rights. Your right to due process, a fair trial, quick and speedy trial. You know how many people go pro se because their lawyer refused to abide by the rules of professional conduct and the judge didn't cite them? So the person has to go pro se, and then the judge in the court will hold them to the legal responsibilities of lawyers and judges, except for any lawyer and judge appearing in that court. Talk about the lack of a fair trial. When you force someone to go pro se because the lawyer committed deprivation of rights by failure to abide by the rules of professional conduct, that's a lack of disclosure. That's a lack of informed consent. All because his lawyer didn't do his job, this person was forced to go pro se, and he wouldn't have been forced to go pro se if the judge in the opposing party had cited that pro se litigant's lawyer for ineffective assistance of counsel, for failure to abide by the rules of professional conduct. And nobody reported that their lawyer for ineffective assistance of counsel. Reporting misconduct is mandatory in both the rules and the codes. So that's a conspiracy against rights under the color of law, forcing a pro se litigant to defend themselves and using their ignorance of the law against them. That's illegal. That violates their right to a fair trial. They don't have the legal expertise to contend against the lawyers and judges who aren't even abiding by the law themselves. So what I'm up against, you're up against. What I've been fighting, you're fighting. And I've been fighting it a lot longer than you have. What they took from me, they took from all. They took from one, they took from all. What they took from me, they took from we the people. That's all I'm trying to get clear to you, okay? And I've been doing this for a long time, way too long. I need your help. And the only help I need you to give me is to learn what your rights are, to due process, a fair trial, effective assistance of counsel. My God, people, they are selling you your rights. The scales of justice are a monetary scale, and you are worth your weight in gold. If you don't have the gold, you get sold into a life of indentured servitude. And that's what I'm trying to stop. And the only way I can stop it is to get you to understand what you're up against and what you need to know to get through it. And what you need to know is required by law. In order to give informed consent, you need reasonable knowledge, which is illegal knowledge, to give informed consent. Make an informed decision in order to give that informed consent. And that legal knowledge is a law degree. Maybe now you'll understand why it's so expensive and only a select few can make it through. And if you notice, even amongst those select few that make it through, depending on where they were educated, can literally promise them a seat on the bench. And what benches are they sitting on? And remember, in the Code of Judicial Conduct, judges are required to be apolitical, have a non-biased mindset, And once you read the Code of Judicial Conduct, you'll find out they do a lot of stuff they shouldn't do. You read the Rules of Professional Conduct, you'll find out lawyers do a lot of stuff they shouldn't do. And they took the oath to do all of that. So, like I said, first hold them to the oath, and then the requirements of the oath. There's more than just, violating the oath alone. Fines, removal from public service, and incarceration. Look it up. It's on the net. Thank you and good night. May your Creator always be with you and rain many blessings. I wish you a long life and good health. Nothing but love for you. When it comes to people, we the people, my people, you are the many pieces of my heart. I hold you near and dear. Thank you and good night.